I don't know if you've noticed, but
Right.
we've got a new image each time, right? Opening image, and that image is kind of representative of where we are on the course. Kind
Walking a
of,
tightrope,
yeah. What else?
balancing.
Mm-hmm. Are you able to do it? How are you on the course? Santu, if you
I'm
shake
at
your
the
head so
beginning of the
violently, it
course.
might fly away. Go on, please.
I have a lot of catching up to do, but
Uh-huh.
except for the last session, I think I was pretty attentive, and the others, I got a lot out of those sessions. But processing is something that I'm still a little stuck with.
Hmm. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Looks like a Saturday evening.
I just want to add here
Yes,
that
sir.
I resonate with what I'm not able to figure out who spoke, but I'm able to resonate with her. Uh,
Aditi.
Aditi. Okay, thanks, Aditi. So, missed two sessions, so it's there on mind uh, that I have not been able to really see through the videos of one session. Could see the manage the video of one session, but couldn't see the video of the second session. And also journaling was something like, when you showed that picture of a child, that boy balancing. So I was just trying to connect with how am I really balancing it with my course, with my reflections, with my questions, with my observations, my discoveries, and from where I feel that I'm still very much at the beginning and not yet given as much thought as I should have, as I had thought of and as I had planned of. Yeah, I will be like, I would really want to like make the best of it, and but something or the other is coming up every time, and I'm not able to really think in that manner. First 2 3 sessions I was able to. Again, I lost that what you say, uh, the grip of it or what, and again trying to get it back. Yep. Thanks.
Um, Hello, Vishwas. This
Yes,
is,
Kaushal.
yeah. For me, last session was such an important session. I don't know if I really understood the way I should have understood it, but something definitely dawned on me after that. And I feel like a different person now. I feel that I've got some very important tools uh, with which I can handle any kind of situation. Um,
Did you get an opportunity in the past 2 weeks?
Of course, I've
Okay.
made some very, very important things. Um, yeah, which I was not able to do before.
Brilliant.
Now, I feel that if this tool can be explained to teachers, and if teachers can understand this, uh, there's no looking back. Every child will benefit like anything.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Pardon me?
But here's the catch. I mean, hey, wouldn't it be brilliant if all the teachers understood it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So here's the catch. The other thing is, you remember what I started my journaling assignment with, right? Uh,
Yeah.
I'm coming to that place where I think processing cannot be taught.
Right. Right.
And the reason you have learned something valuable is not because I did anything, it's because what you chose to do,
True.
which means that I've done this with teachers,
Hmm.
but and over the years with a lot of other people, even in class. And I find that those who uh, there's a bunch of people that will find enormous um, use for it and value in it and put it into practice almost immediately the moment they walk out of that room after the session.
Yeah. It's actually the
And
last session was life-changing for me. It's something that I always needed, is what I discovered. I wanted something like this, but I didn't know what it was.
you know
Yeah.
what they say, no? When the student is ready, the master appears.
Yeah. True, true. Very true. Thank you so much.
I think it was just that case that
Yeah.
wonderful. I'm
Thank,
so glad
thank,
you got something
yeah.
from it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so you notice that you know we were there. Oh, by the way, anybody below the line? Anybody fallen off that tightrope today? How are you feeling right now? All good? Okay, cool.
Yep.
So
All good.
let's dive into this this thing called design of how do we put things together. I think at its simplest, design means a sequence of things. You put them together, and or you got this magic bag and you put stuff into it, and at some point in time you pull it out, and then you sequence it and you say, okay, I'm going to put these things in a particular sequence, and that's how I'm going to deliver whatever I need to deliver. And over the years, I've found that I've begun to question this thing about whether is design sequence, and I, design is also sequence, but in its true sense, design is something um, that I think goes beyond just sequence and the little pieces of it. And I don't know if we will have time to play with some of that, but I'm just going to go ahead, and then if the conversation takes us there, then we'll go there. Otherwise, we'll just stick to the sequence that I have created for you today. Okay? All right. What do you see on screen? Hmm? Rope? Yeah. What else?
Actually, we see half the screen. It's white and the part.
Yeah. Right. What is that?
Man is walking a tightrope.
Okay, but what is that part, that red part, that red rope? What is that? What is it? What is its function?
Anchor.
Anchor.
Right. It's the anchor. And what does the anchor do to you walking on that rope?
Supports you, holds you.
Okay. Go on.
Helps me to balance.
Right. It kind of holds you up, right? It's just another way of describing what an anchor does, you up. And I'm going to kind of change that a little, change its look a little. Now, what does it look like?
Usually,
A
the
funnel.
anchor of
Funnel.
a funnel-shaped anchor here. But usually, the anchor of a boat is something which is just a hook kind of a thing, which is kind of a you know.
Right.
Uh,
Right. So we're not
but
focusing right
here,
now on what it looks like, but what it does.
yeah. So I was just wondering, like these ropes coming from 4 different angles. Is that like giving more support, or maybe is that what is helping it
Yeah.
tighten it, or
I mean, the physics of it is that uh, if you have your ropes within 45 degrees, it will share the load. If it increases beyond beyond 45 degrees, it increases the load. So 100 kilos becomes 120 kilos or 140, depending on what the angle is. So if you've got 100, if this is rope and this is the anchor, if this is 100 kilos, and if your angle is greater than 45 degrees, then effectively each rope is taking maybe about 80 kilos. But the moment you reduce it to within 45, that 100 is divided by these two, so it becomes 45, 45. Anyway, who's the physics teacher here? And this is something you can do at home. You can you can measure, if you all you need is a weighing machine, and you can see how anchors affect that. And so in design, one of the things we want to do, so what in our context, what is design? We're putting a lot of stuff. So we kind of inverted that, and we said, hey, that looks like a funnel. And in design, we're kind of putting a lot of stuff into it, right? Now, whether you're a teacher in a classroom or whatever else you do, even if you're a homemaker, even if you're the educator of your children at home, we're doing practically the same. You've got this funnel, and we're putting a lot of stuff into that funnel. Yeah, and that so the things that we put in are all the ideas that come to our head that we think are going to enrich the experience for our audience. So if I'm just going to free flow, because I think today, Saturday evening, people seem a little slowed down. Sounds like I have to carry weight today. But if you wake up and you have questions as I keep talking, because I can go on, do stop me. Okay? Right. So this fun, we're throwing in a lot of ideas. We're throwing in tools and methodologies and all the thinking that happens. And some of you mentioned some stuff that happened to you in the past 2 weeks. What you essentially did was the funnel that you carried around, and it was kind of flowing in a particular direction. Some new ideas came in, and you decided to deal with your world in a different way. So expressed in a diagrammatic form, that's what it looks like. The questions that we really need to ask when we put in those ideas are critical to what goes into that funnel. At its simplest, who is it for? If I'm talking to somebody and practicing processing with them in that conversation, who is that conversation about? Is it about me or is it about them?
It's about them.
To achieve. Yeah, sorry, did somebody say something?
No, I thought you asked a question, so I answered. It's for them. It's
Yeah,
about them.
correct. It's for them. Why is it required? Now you can answer. Why? What's the idea in our head? What's the answer to that question?
So we're basically designing it for our participants.
Yes. But
So
give me an example in your life as to when you design something for your participants and you ask yourself this question: why is it required? What might the answer be?
because it's going to help them in some way.
Okay.
So that they have maximum learning.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there are other logistical questions as well. Where will it be? How long will it be for? And every one of these, and this, mind you, this is not comprehensive. These questions that I'm putting here are not comprehensive in any way. They're just the beginning, and I'm asking you to consider what questions are valid for you and your work. They're just indicative. So we found out through, Colin Beard's model that where it happens is critical, who's doing it is critical. how it's going to happen, what's going to happen. Every one of those pieces needs to be considered when we set out to do our thing. Now, this is session 7. Do you know that in terms of concepts and content, that's how much has already gone in to the design of this course? And maybe you will bring that into play in the work that you do, and some things will come sometime and you'll forget others. And at other times, you know, and at some point in time, hopefully everything will come alive for you. But when I was looking at design for this and the design session, I said, wow, by this point, we've covered, let's see how much we've covered. And we found out that we've covered a lot. And all that's going to go into the conversation that happens today as to, okay, what constitutes design and how do we enrich it? Now, this whole process of design isn't just putting in stuff into that funnel. You'll notice that a funnel, you throw in a lot of ideas, but do they all emerge at the other end?
No.
Do you think? No. Why not?
Everyone has it at a different level.
Yeah, that's what they receive. Let's talk about our end of it. I'm putting in all that stuff into your head right now. Do you think it's all going to emerge when you do something next?
No.
What do you think is going to happen?
There
I
will
think
be
we can.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think consciously we can practice few of the things.
Right. So what your mind is, what your head's going to do as we go through that process, it's going to narrow it down and say, okay, which pieces are critical for me right now? You're going to filter that. You say, what are the relevant pieces? And that's true with any design. When I was designing this course, I was looking at, okay, what are the relevant pieces that I really am keen to share and I think are critical for experiential educators, educators in general. And I had to then filter it and reduce some, throw out some stuff, change the way some of the other pieces looked, present it in a different form. I knew I was going to be talking to you through a screen. So all of that's happening, and that filtering process is already happening because we know so much. We don't necessarily send everything out, we filter it. And I found that every time I was designing anything, whether it was a corporate training program or even this, that the moment that it's just pure physics, that when you put a lot of stuff, even if you have a funnel and you pour water into it, the force with which the water goes in, is it the same force that the water comes out?
No.
Is it more or less?
Much
Less.
less.
Huh?
Depends on the pipe, radius of the pipe.
Well, you've got a funnel. You're pouring it into a mouth that big and it's coming out through a narrow tube. What is likely to happen?
The output is much less.
Not output, flow.
Yeah.
Speed.
The speed.
Speed is less. Okay.
I think the
This is
speed
a-
is
this is-
faster.
This is an experiment you got to do at home. But this is what I discovered as I, interesting. Okay, so this is what I discovered, that when I started designing and started putting all those ideas in and started filtering it, something very critical was happening in that pipe. And that pipe is time, right? And I wanted to do everything. I said, but there's this pressure of time and it became a very, it's really high pressure because the load of that water in the funnel mouth is pushing the water down. But do the experiment at home and see what happens. And it's a high pressure area, and I began to feel the sense of, oh God, it's really hard. So those of you who do design, will know that there are stages where you feel stressed out. And the questions you're asking is, okay, I want to put this in. I also want to put that in. That's really valuable. Oh, this is going to be useful to them. Oh, that they will be able to catch quickly. I can finish it in 10 minutes. But anything that can be finished in 10 minutes, there's this, is it direct proportion or inverse proportion? I'm not sure. Anything that can be finished in 10 minutes will be gone in 10 minutes. So high pressure area. I began to feel the pressure of, and then what clarified it for me was the question, okay, I want to do this, but why am I doing what I'm doing, and how is this piece that I see really important? How is that going to be relevant to the group? And then something quite different began to happen. Then I started refiltering. And then I started looking at, okay, I've got these different pieces. How are they going to play out? Is there a flow? Is there a sequence? Is one piece, is there something I want to do before rather than later? How much attention do I want to give it? How much time do I want to give it? Sometimes I found that some of the simplest concepts that appear they can be shared in one line. Sometimes take a couple of hours to experience and talk about. And then at the end of that design process, just remember we're talking about design. This is also life. We want so many things. We can't get them all. Otherwise, we'd enrich our homes the day we got into that home. But we don't. But we buy things over time. And there is that sequence. There's this natural sequence. Sometimes it's supply and demand. If you have the money, you can buy it. If you can't, you won't. Simple. Same design, same principle. So two funnels back to back. And then what emerges after the second filter is a whole bunch of activities and all the other stuff. My processing questions, what am I really going to do? Which pieces come before, which pieces come later? And then it begins to, at some point in time, fall into place and make sense. Yeah. How many of you are content designers or curriculum designers or instructional designers? Okay. Just you, Nisha? Oh, super.
I also do that, Aditi here.
Ah, okay. Great. So we know this process, right? Now, we're going to be looking at it from a different perspective. So we also, in that process, in the output, are considering sequencing, timing, activities. Is the environment changing? Are we going to change it for something to happen in a better way? How do we keep the disequilibrium alive? If something fails, what backup plan do I have? If everything fails, do I have a backup plan? So, what's the principle? You know who this guy is?
Tesla.
Right. One of the things he said was, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So converting everything into the principles of life, that everything, atoms, is essentially energy. Anyway. So at some point in time, this whole process of designing becomes almost philosophic in nature. So we know that all particles move, they have a wavelength, they have a frequency, and they carry energy. So I started looking at, okay, so how the design also is uh, is a movement of energy, and that energy is about our energy as well as our participants' energy. How do we get these two to match? Now, for example, uh, some of us do 2 hours work, 6 days work, 1 hour of maybe counseling. Some of us are classroom teachers, and we've got that batch, that group of people for a whole year, or maybe right through the. Purva, I think your microphone is on. Oh, thank you. So we can look at the energy of the group and energy of people, um, and choose to respond to what that energy is with different things. Are you getting this energy story?
Vishwas, can you repeat the last sentence? You
Okay.
can look at the
So,
energy of the people and
of our audience
okay.
and our energy, and try and get those two, because it's about no matter what you say, there is an us and a them there. We have a certain responsibility and they have a different responsibility. And syncing these energies, getting these energies to flow together is critical for any transfer of any knowledge, information, anything, right? Even in a simple conversation with people, it's about energies. So, have you ever met somebody who's angry? Were you angry at that time?
After speaking to that person, maybe.
Right? So, but you weren't angry when you met them.
Yeah.
And their energy affected you, and they were agitated, and you got agitated. Now, you can either choose to match it, or you can choose to allow them to be there, and you say, oh, no, I don't need to go there. I'm going to stabilize myself. Right? So, um, sometimes that is great. Sometimes you've got to balance that energy out in some way. If somebody's on a high, then you go on a low. If somebody's screaming and shouting, you go quiet, you go calm. So it's so much about energy, and for example, have you ever had a job? Raise your hand if you have. Okay, right. Or you've gone to a new space. Let's just call it going to a new space. Okay. And it could be a job. It could be you might have gotten married and gone to somebody else's home, or you're on a journey and you land up at this strange place and it's new the first time and you're going to spend 15 days there. I don't know. Just think of what was your energy when you reached that place, your first encounter.
The starting is usually very high.
Usually very high. Are you jumping around?
Not physically, but yes.
Uh-huh. Okay. So you've been on a journey on a bus for 6 hours and then you land up at this place. What's your energy?
Low.
Anybody else? I need you to go to that place because a lot of what we're going to talk about is really around that.
Anxious. A lot of anticipation.
Anticipation. What are the words?
You can
Just give
feel
me a
the
word.
vibrations of that place, or you can
What's
sense those
your,
vibrations.
yeah, that's not what I'm asking. I'm saying, what was your energy like?
So,
What fear?
Yeah.
Okay.
so lot of reservedness and uncertainty on how to approach
Uncertain.
situations.
Great.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are writing these words down because they're critical. Sapna, I think your mic is on. Thank you. Okay, so the energy is kind of, you know, anxiety, uncertainty, unknown, fear, uh, hesitant, right? Now, um,
I mean, there's
think of
also
your,
hope. I mean, the feeling can be hope as well, along with anxiety. Sometimes they're
ah,
together.
I wonder, I
This
wonder.
one
Let's
personal
move,
example.
let's
Uh,
move. Yeah, okay, Nisha.
no, we actually, me and my husband, we moved to Doha, Qatar after marriage. So we were like, okay, you're moving abroad, and the preparations for that, and Middle East was not new to us. We knew what kind of life to expect, but we had seen a Dubai and stuff like that, and we had all these mental images in our head, and we were newly married, so it was like, yeah, we're going to make it big, and those kind of thoughts in our head. But I remember very clearly when the flight was about to land, I remember looking through the window and I saw land like this size, okay? It's such a small place. It's like a gulf between the seas. And the thing that stays in my mind is that it was gray in color from where we were looking. And that sort of dampened our spirits. Like we were like, do we even get out of the flight or we do go back? Because we're coming, and when the flight was taking off, it was all green and lush and beautiful and everything. So we were like talking to each other, like, if this is any indication of how our life is going to be, I really want to get back in the flight,
Interesting.
know.
Yeah, and sometimes we
That,
have these visual memories of that moment, right? Yeah.
yeah. Now that
So,
you're talking about
yeah.
it, I realize it's so vivid in my mind.
Right. And my guess is if we spend a little more time, uh, we'd be able to agitate that part of us that remembers it. Now,
True.
just remember this, that when participants come to you um, and you meet them for the first time, it makes sense that they are also probably feeling similarly, right? And our design has to consider that. So years ago
Can you
in
just
this
repeat
book,
the last sentence? Our design has to be.
has to consider that, take that into account and say that, hey, no matter what, how exciting or how much excitement has been created in my audience's mind about them coming to me, even if it's an outdoor camp, there is the same words that you used are going to be feelings that they're going to be going through when they come to me. So there's going to be fear, anxiety, anticipation, possibly hope. Some kids will be high energy, some of them will be low energy. You're going to have a mix of all this. And our design must take into consideration that. Okay? So here's one way of looking at how the energy flows and how we could do certain things, and it gives a fairly interesting approach to how to look at how we can create a sequence of things for our participants to settle in and get the most from that experience. Okay, it's called the adventure wave and was first put through as an idea um, in a book called Islands of Healing. And a lot of people talk about it, and a lot of people have written different things about it, but I don't think Project Adventure, which is the organization that wrote this book, or these three guys, ever really went into its detail. And other people then picked it up, and I think I picked it up as well. And I found that there's a true nature to this model, and I've noticed it happen with my groups. So it makes sense for me to share it with you as well. So it's an important piece in how do we structure activities and experiences for our audience. Okay. So now each of you is going to be looking at it differently. For some of us, it might be 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, 2 days, 5 days. And for some of us, it might be a whole year if we are teachers in a classroom in school. So you've got something called the beginning of the experience. Yeah, makes sense, right? Beginning and end. Everything has a beginning and an end. Right. The questions I've been asked over the years that I've been in this field, and you might have them. So as experiential educators, there's always this question of, how shall I sequence the activities that I do? What shall I do first? Do any other questions drop into your head?
How do I connect what's happening first and logically move on to the next so I can
Right.
build on? Yeah.
Which is the sequence that you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So here's one way to look at it. We just discovered that when we go to a place and you see a green blob, no, gray blob from the sky, there's anxiety and the energy kind of drops. And anxious energy is like it's like below the line behavior. Everything is defensive. Everything is doubt, mistrust. So it makes sense that we begin by introducing the group to various things. So any kind of introduction. Now, take, I don't know what it would mean in your environment, but if I was in an outdoor environment, I would, an introduction would include a walk through, introduction to the boundaries, introduction to the place, introduction to the people, introduction to where they are staying, where the different areas are, where they can get their water, where they get their food, where they get their equipment. So introduction to the people, the other instructors. Does that make sense? Now, here's something that I have never, ever, 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 in all my years in schooling, I've never found a teacher introduce anything. And I'm not sure why this is, but I think I know, and we take a hell of a lot for granted. It's this kid moving from fifth grade to sixth grade. And what is fifth grade to sixth grade? It's graduation from one room to the next one. Yeah? But think about how much is changing for that kid. Maybe they're going to be facing the opposite direction. The board is on this side. It used to be on this side. You've got a new teacher. You've got a new class teacher. You've got a new environment. You've got a new setup. You've got new rules. Because somewhere there's they've graduated. Things are not the same. Their bodies are not the same. Their minds are not the same. They've just come back from 3 months holiday. And who knows what they did? Nobody introduces those children to anything. Now, what would be the value of that? It's a question to you.
The value of introducing.
Mm-hmm.
They would feel welcome back.
Okay, let's do one thing. I think I need to make this a little more intense. I hadn't planned on this, but I'm going to put you into breakout rooms and have a conversation about what you would, and I'm just going to make it 5 or 7 minutes, not very long, so get on with it. Have a conversation about what you would introduce your group to, whatever your setting is, okay? Whether it's college, school, um, a 2-day program, 2-hour program, it might be different. Have a really quick and dirty conversation about it. When I say quick and dirty, what I'm saying is just put as many things as you can onto that list. I want to hear the things that you would do. Okay? Chetan, who's going to do this?
I'll do it, but how many people per room?
Max 5.
Okay.
Ideally 4.
And 5
Yeah?
is
Yeah. And you and Madhvi also can join the rooms if you want. We have not considered this question. How was the conversation?
Oh, very interesting.
So, let's do one thing. Can each team have a spokesperson? Did any of you make notes?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
And we already have a spokesperson assigned also.
Who's that?
That's Bala from our team.
Okay, Bala. The other teams?
We have Lakshman.
Okay. Bala, Lakshman, who else?
I can speak for my team, Aditi, if that's okay.
Aditi.
We didn't decide, so.
Yes.
And?
Ours will have to be Madhuri because I saw her taking notes. None of us took notes otherwise.
Okay. So Madhvi.
Team 1 will be
Okay.
Arushi. Thank you, Arushi.
Okay. So you know who the representatives are? We're going to play a quick game. And I'm going to give you 30 seconds to prepare for it. And this is what you're going to do. The spokespeople. So do you remember your room number?
Yeah, ours is 3.
Okay, who's 1?
Lakshman is 3.
I'm 1.
Spokesperson. Where's Lakshman?
1.
Ah, there you are. So Lakshman, you're 1, are you? Who's 2?
Room number.
No, Lakshman is 3.
No, 3.
Okay, who's 1?
I'm 1. Arushi.
Arushi. 2? Madhvi.
Two is
Speak up,
Madhvi.
no. How will I know? I'm looking at 25 faces here.
Okay, 2.
2, 3,
3 is Lakshman.
4. 4 right, nahi? 4 is Bala.
We
Okay.
are 6.
4.
We are 6
Bala,
actually.
you can be 4.
Okay.
Bala, you can be 4.
Okay.
5 is Aditi.
Okay. Right.
No, 5 is Nisha and us. Shwas.
5-star group. Yeah, ours is 6-7.
Okay.
Who's 4?
I think Aditi, we are 4.
Okay.
Okay,
I
Aditi,
didn't
you're 4.
remember.
Bala is 6. Who's 5?
Nisha.
Yeah.
Nisha.
Yeah.
Nisha, you're representing?
Yeah. Well,
Okay, now you know your numbers.
yes.
Let's quickly hear people say 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on which room you're in. Are you ready? Go.
4.
1.
6.
They usually start at 1. In sequence. Are you ready? Go.
1.
2.
3.
4.
5. 6.
My God, you actually managed it. Now, you're going to get 30 seconds to look at your list. And then you're going to choose one thing that you are going to do, and you're going to just state that one thing. And it might be a word, and it can at the max be a sentence, but not a paragraph.
Only one.
Only 1.
Only one. Now, Do you know what's going to happen? Anyway, let's find out.
I didn't actually catch on. We have to choose a word out of?
No, you got a list, no?
Yeah, of the things we
Great.
discussed. Okay.
Now, Arushi might say something and it may be on your list. We cannot have repetition.
Oh.
So rules of the game, as fast as possible, no repetition in the sequence of your room numbers. And if anybody wants to write it down as fast as you can, because we won't be repeating it. Got it? Your 30 seconds starts now. And when I say go, Arushi, you can start. You're looking at your list, I hope. Try and prioritize. Till then, I'll have a bite.
One has to go first, right?
Go.
Familiarity.
Roadmap.
Context.
Roadmap.
Okay.
A context.
Mm-hmm.
Introductions.
That's what it's all about. But what exactly are you going to do?
People introducing themselves.
Okay.
Safety.
Sorry?
Safety.
Safety.
Grab attention. Grabbing attention.
Oh, grab their attention. Okay. Avishi,
Okay. Structure.
you're going to introduce them to the structure of whatever you're going to be doing. Okay.
Human side. The human side. Understanding the
Introduction.
human side.
Understanding the human side as part of your introduction.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
The objective of the course.
Okay. Lakshman,
Comfort.
make them comfortable.
Make them comfortable. Yes.
Okay.
How to ask for help.
How to ask for help.
The why factor.
Why?
Why factor. I can explain the why factor as in why are they here through a.
Okay.
Gaining full attention.
Madhuri?
Boundaries.
Boundaries.
The interdynamics.
Okay.
Process.
Sorry, Aditi.
Process.
Process.
Feeling connected.
Mm-hmm. Is that an outcome or introduction?
As in they should feel connected to
I know.
the
That
place.
should happen. But what are you going to do?
Where are you at any given point in time? They should know where they are. So
Okay.
A story, a puppet or a story with a puppet, just to grab us. To get them all together to pay attention.
Okay, last one. Make your choice. Icebreakers.
Sorry, I'm
Community.
lost.
Madhvi,
Set expectations.
set expectations.
Building community.
Yeah.
Sense of community.
Lakshman?
Even same, like initiating community building.
Mm-hmm. You sure?
how would you? One is behavioral agreements.
Okay. Bala, do you have anything?
Yeah, just make them feel welcomed and part of this whole thing.
I know, but what will you do?
See, one, like we said, we had a couple. One was, a story to grab the attention, and then you tell them through the process after that why they are here, and then, what's in store for them. And then through the process, a few things that we
Okay.
do to make them feel part of the whole thing.
Last question, and I want this really quickly in the same sequence. How long will your introduction be?
10 minutes.
Arushi?
15% of the total time.
15%. Okay. Madhuri?
30% of the total time. 1/3.
30.
Yeah, 1/3.
Wow. Okay.
10 to 15% of the total time.
Okay.
We discussed it should be crisp, but had no numbers put to it.
Yeah, we didn't discuss actually.
We
So-
also haven't discussed in the group like the time it's going to take.
I know. I can see that your list says that. Okay. Now, you put a lot. Here's something that you might want to think about. And what we call an introduction expanded to the things as well. But so let's look at what this whole thing is. Okay. It's definitely an introduction to the people. I mean, why can the teachers not file into a classroom on day one and introduce themselves and spend 15 minutes just talking to them about themselves in a school? Why not? Because rules are meant only for children, not for teachers. When you do this in a school, those boundaries and ground rules would be the non-negotiables. Usually just the non-negotiables at this point in time, because in the spirit of experiential ed, a lot of stuff is up for grabs and open to conversation and making decisions together.
Vishwas, are you sharing screen?
Am I not?
No.
It took you that long to let me know. I love that.
We thought you
When
were
did I?
telling us, talking to us.
No, here I am looking at my screen and saying, oh, they're seeing the same thing. Oh, I love this. Okay, so give me a second. Oh, yeah, Che took my screen in between now.
This was one question.
Yeah.
When you said a lot of these things are not possible in a school environment, would it be because of the time factor that you have such a small, kind of a slot that you have so much to do?
No. I'm saying that schools don't do it because the power positions are so clear that adults don't feel a need to introduce themselves. They say, and I think I heard it in one of the groups that anyway they're going to spend so much time together for the rest of the year, and they will get to know each other anyway.
Okay.
But
They don't feel they needed to do that. Okay.
Yeah. Now I'll tell you why I'm saying this. Think about can you see now?
Yeah, you can see. Yeah.
Finally. Okay. Think about, I go back to the school days and I say I had 30 classmates. How much did I know about them?
Yeah.
Hardly anything. I mean, many of them I kind of discovered years later. Some of them I discovered 40 years later when my batch decided to meet in Bangalore. 40 years after being in school. And I kind of rediscovered them.
Wow.
And schools, I asked my children and didn't know anything about their classmates. And think about how much you know about your classmates. Hardly, man. There is, why? Sorry, my irritation is kind of, rising. But why in which children introduce, get to know each other?
Yeah, but then isn't that, but the assumption is with adults, there is a hesitation to kind of do. With children, they don't have any inhibitions at all.
Who told you this?
No, I mean, nobody told me. I'm based on my
Thank you.
limited observation.
Assumption.
Yeah,
Assumption.
but they do. Yeah, okay.
Here's the thing. Let's make an assumption that that's true. Okay? Do children know what questions to ask to discover each other? And do you know why adults don't get to know each other? It's not because they don't want to. They don't
No,
know.
they have a baggage or
I
paradigm.
guarantee you, in this group, if we said, okay, now here's discovery time, find out about each other, I guarantee you half of us won't know what to ask.
Again, Vishwas, it could be because certain again, it's a conditioning. I don't know if it could be that certain questions are not supposed to be asked. It tends to get too personal. So that's where I think people stop at asking the questions.
Deepa, you're giving me reasons why not to ask them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just giving you reasons. I'm trying to tell you that this is going to be the reason. So
now, you know what? Let's try this. All inhibitions are out of the window. Ask me any question you want.
Okay.
That's the point. There's a hesitation with an adult because I know that some things might be offensive to someone. With children,
So here's my
don't
question.
care. They don't
Is this
care.
inhibition about the questioner or the answerer?
Questioner. It's inhibition.
Therefore, questions will never be asked.
Yeah, but with children, do you think they have those barriers? They're pretty obnoxious sometimes. They come and ask you just about anything. So that's what I'm saying. Is there a hesitation?
Question is not whether they will ask questions. It's whether they know what questions to ask in order to discover about each other.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Okay. That's what it is. Okay.
Ah,
Okay.
yeah. Even as adults, we don't.
We don't. Yeah.
So, are we looking at the same screen now?
Yep.
Yes.
We have something.
Now I can look at it and you can read it.
Well, we don't know what you're looking at, but we're looking at something.
Damn, I'm looking at some characters, man. Okay. Next stage. I know you mentioned energizers, but you don't want to energize till the introductory. Okay, let's settle in. This is where we're going to be. Till that sense is felt by the audience. Don't jump into energizers too early. And what's an energizer? What's the intention of an energizer?
You see perhaps that, the energy in the class of it's a little low and people are not participating or things. So you
That's
try
it.
to bring in an element inside to kind of.
Yeah.
To unify the energies?
Sorry?
To unify the energies, to bring about the energies in the same wavelength or something like that, so that they all are there.
Yeah,
present.
unify, balance, same. Yeah. Huh?
Okay.
This gives you what an energizer is, okay? A lot of people do something that they call an energizer and then they process it. Theoretically, energizers are not processed. Okay? But you can consciously use an activity that is generically called an energizer because it generates something specific to the objective that you may have. But you would not process an energizer at this stage on the energy wave.
I like the non-competitive, everybody wins bit.
Yep. You know, classic among these would be song and dance. Have you ever seen a penguin come to tea?
That sound.
Ukulele, penguin come to tea, you know.
Correct. Dilli se mora bhai layo re bajra. All those. So everybody is doing it, everybody is dancing, everybody is having fun, there's laughter. And there's no win and lose. It's like, you know, it's like, hey, who cares? Just do it. Any questions? Any comments? Okay.
Just one question here. I heard that the energizers should be related to the context, or sorry, to the workshop concept. So is it like that always the energizers should be leading towards the concept?
Nah, not for me.
Okay.
You can decide, but no, for me, never. The purpose of the energizer is to set the pace and the mood for what's going to happen. I mean, is there such a thing as a serious energizer? If you're talking about diversity and sexuality, serious topics, are you going to have a serious energizer?
No.
For God's sake, no. An energizer is designed to bring the energy up, laughter, play. You saw those, you know, what the intention of an energizer is.
Yeah, yeah.
Name games. Please be careful about trying to use energizers for anything else. I have seen a lot of people do this, and that is part of the experiential approach. It's an activity, yes, but the intention of an energizer is not that. It's simply to energize. Okay, next stage. Where is the energy of people right now? Of the group?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, sir.
Correct. So here's the time to take it to the next stage. A lot of energizers are not contact activities. No holding hands, you know, none of that stuff. De-inhibitizers, the intention is to take it to that next stage where you can do activities which have fun and laughter and so on. Handshakes, dances, all kinds of stuff. A lot. So I was doing something in the Middle East, and you know, the standard handshake, not done. And there were activities in which, have you done the human tangle where you do these cross arms and then you untangle the thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a contact activity. That's a that's problem solving, but also can be used as a de-inhibitizer. Now, when I went to the Middle East, there was no way I could do that. So I gave them each a piece of string, and they held the string between them instead of holding hands and contact. They held the string between them, and it was fine to do that.
That was really creative. I was just wondering what could you have done?
So you're increasing the risk level here, intentionally so. And it's not just, it is fun and laughter, because fun and laughter from energizing carries over to this, but it's also harder. So you have body contortions, you have mirroring games, walk my walk, you know, basically letting your hair down. That's where I left it, I think. Any questions? Now you can come to the behavioral contract, because now they've played together. Once you've played with somebody and laughed with somebody, it's really hard not to accept them within your circle. So this is where you bring the behavioral contract into play. And you say, okay, so here we are here for a purpose. What's a good way of doing it? What shall we do? What's okay? What's not okay? And there are, I'm sure, how many of you have done behavioral contracts?
Ground rules, no?
Yeah, I have.
No, not ground rules.
Then?
I will.
Do you mean agreements before we begin the session?
Some people call it that.
Okay.
But I don't call them agreements. The behavioral contract is, I'll give you an example. So, so an example would be using, let's say, an egg. Okay, and you draw an egg. You know what an egg looks like, right? Each group is, small groups are given a piece of paper, and they draw an egg. And what do we know about an egg? It's a question to you.
That it will break if you drop it.
So and what's inside the egg?
Egg white and a yolk.
What is that? What does it represent? What does it become eventually? Embryo, life.
Yeah.
So what's inside the egg is what will give life to the group. And what's outside?
A hard shell.
The environment. The environment.
And what does the shell do?
Protects.
From what? What's out on the outside that needs protection of the inside?
Pressure.
Okay, go on, more.
Hard surface.
Sorry, Purva?
Hard surface.
What's outside the eggshell?
The world, the entire world.
What is the world likely to do to the life within?
Endanger it.
That's it. So threat is on the outside, life is on the inside. So on that piece of paper, they write down what will threaten the group in its learning process. And inside the egg, they write what will give life to learning for the group. That's one method. Then you have a 5-finger contract. Each finger, so they draw an impression of the hand, and each finger represents a particular thing, respect, blah, 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 punctuality, whatever they want. They're different methods. Okay? So that's when you do the behavioral contract.
I want to ask a question. I'm not quite sure if I understood how different it is from the ground rules.
Who sets the ground rules?
I mean, the facilitator can do that, but it can be co-created as well. Like, I mean, one can invite
Careful,
a group.
careful, careful. Listen to what the word sounds like. Ground rules. What does that mean? So, at this point in time, you would also share with them the non-negotiables, what you're calling ground rules. So, if you're on an outdoor camp, one of the ground rules might be you cannot go beyond the boundaries of this site. And you would have introduced them to the boundary and say that's not negotiable. You cannot waste food, non-negotiable. That make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, Alicia, you have to put your mic on though.
Yeah. What about the untied shoelace? Is it also non-negotiable?
Negotiable.
Negotiable? Even in the outdoors, on a mountain top?
Okay. You want to play the kid?
No, I don't want to play the kid.
Then कैसे पता चलेगा? I can give you the theory.
But I really want the insight on what to do about that untied shoelace.
Alicia, you cannot get the insight till you play. You ready?
Okay.
Alicia, your shoelaces are untied.
Sorry, just to put one thing. I've always been very obedient, always a good child. So if you'll ask me to tie the shoelace, I'll stop and I'll just tie it off quickly without asking you a question.
Wonderful. So that's something I'm not going to ask you to do.
Okay.
Your shoelaces are untied.
Okay.
Do you notice that?
Yes, I can see that.
Do you want to leave them like that?
Is there any problem?
For me?
Either
For
of
you?
us. It could be for me, it could be for you as well. I mean, sometimes it could bother other people.
I don't know. Have you ever had a problem with untied shoelaces?
But I might fall.
Oh, you think so?
I think so.
Okay, so think about this. We're going to go for a hike. Your shoelaces are currently untied. Would you like to leave them like that, or would you like to do something else?
I would want to tie them, and I would.
So go ahead and tie them.
You told me to tie those up, but what would
Now,
you do?
be the belligerent protester. Go on. Tell me you don't want to tie those shoelaces.
Okay, I don't want to tie my shoelace.
Okay. Okay. So here's the thing. I believe that if you have untied shoelaces and you're climbing a hill, I wonder if those two things go together.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what's likely to happen, do you think?
I could fall.
Okay. Do you want to? No, remember, you're protesting, okay? I want you to do everything, protest at every moment.
Being too easy on you, man.
Yes, I want to fall.
Okay. So what shall we do when you fall?
I don't care.
You don't care? Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay. So here's the deal.
My teeth or something, but I don't care.
Here's the deal. Okay, this is me being outdoor educator, okay? If you fall, you're going to have to repair yourself. Are you okay with that?
Okay.
That way you'll also learn how to do your first aid. I'm okay with it. Because I'm going to walk right next to you.
Okay, but I understand. But sometimes as a parent or as a bystander also, you you have been telling the child to either tie the shoelaces or wear their slippers or whatever, like don't do this. But when they get hurt while doing the same thing, you cannot go and tell them, I told you so. That's not something you can do as a
I'm
caretaker.
not saying I told you so. When the kid falls, I will do what I have to do. Carry my first aid kit.
Okay. So it's all okay if I even after telling me that I might fall, then also it's okay if I fall and I don't listen
I'm
to
not telling you.
Okay. But you brought it to my notice that there is something that could happen.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I asked.
So I'll choose to let it be untied. That's okay. Let's see what
Wonderful.
happens.
So here's the deal. I'm going to walk next to you. Okay? And let's find out what happens.
Okay.
If 50 children choose to do that, I would have a different deal.
I was actually thinking that, if there's more than one kid, then what would happen? Like, because I'm sure there's as many educators, I'm sure the ratio of the educators is lesser than the number of students.
Wonderful. So here's what I would say. I noticed that 50 of you all, just as a protest, you want to walk without shoelaces tied. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I can assure you that 5 of us is not going to be enough. So here's what we're going to do. Only since each one of us can, I think, manage 3 children at a time, only 15 of us are going to go for a trek. The rest of you, since you're choosing to leave your shoelaces untied, can stay back. If opportunity presents itself, the others can go. If not, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Nowhere, if you notice, have I let go of the principles of what we do. Challenge by choice is alive. Invitation is alive. Responsibility is still with me. Exploration is alive with you. And let's find out. Make sense? Great. So, can we go to the next slide?
Can I say something? I feel there's still, there's a difference in the kind of experience that the child, if there's one child protesting and then, the educator could walk, the plan for the educator is that the educator will walk alongside the child. But in the second scenario, like it's like, how should I put it? It's
Protest.
like,
Come on, Purva, protest. I'm ready.
so I'm like, the other group does not have a choice. Like, they're not experiencing anything. They will not go on the trek, right?
The choice is that you're choosing to keep your shoelaces untied.
Oh.
Do you want to go for the trek? I don't mind shoelaces untied. I just can't handle potential risk in higher. But I'm not going to tell you to try them. They have to come to that place where they say, oh, you mean if I tie my shoelaces, I can go for the trek with you? Yeah. The ratio of untied shoelaces to instructor is 1:3. Clear?
Yeah.
Good. Now we can go to trust building. I hate this word. I don't believe trust can be built.
Going back, just a question.
Yeah.
Would it not fall in the category or space of persuasion?
Which?
The aspect of the untied shoelace which you demonstrated right now.
Persuasion? How is it persuasion? I'm not asking you to, I'm not persuading you. You are persuading you with your desire to be on the track. I'm giving you a choice. It's a choice you can make.
But it sounds very similar to if you get good marks, I'll give you a bike or something.
Hey, the trek is not a reward. The trek is part of the program. By choosing to do what you want to do, you can start treating it like a reward if you want.
I think the reward is being safe.
That's it. But I won't say that.
And what do you do if the person is okay with the risk? Then how do
No,
you?
I said you're okay with your untied shoelaces. I'm cool with it. Instructor ratio 1:3.
How does that make any difference to the person who's stubborn
Which
about not
person?
tying it? Like,
Oh, half the group, more than half the group won't be able to go
right.
if that's the choice they're making.
Okay, right. So then it's like
You
the
see,
group that will put pressure. Is that what you?
this is how you can use something like that and very hey, what the hell, man? How come you?
Right.
I don't know. Okay, guys, you guys go sort it out. Let me know what you decide. And when you think you're ready for the trek, we'll go. And if we don't make that decision, we can't. We're not doing a night trek. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. You just had your breakfast. The longer you take, the shorter the trek.
Vishwas, this talks about group dynamics and how it works in a group. How about if you're dealing with the person one-to-one?
Yeah, even I was thinking the same.
Much easier.
Really? Okay.
You decide not to tie your shoelaces. You're my daughter. I will walk next to you.
Okay.
Okay, walk next to me.
And if you discover a way of walking without tripping, hey, let's tell the whole world, because the whole world is saying, damn it, tie your shoelaces. They're manufacturing shoes with laces. What the hell for? Let's go and tell Nike not to put shoelaces.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
No, I didn't get it actually.
Deepa's going to explain it while I take a bite.
Because it doesn't make any difference to the person, to the child, if you're walking next to them, because you are wasting your time. For the kid, it's fine.
So what as Vishwas was saying, the approach still remains the same, because I am the one who's taking, who's responsible for the kid. I will still be there by the kid to take care if something happens. So it's your choice not to tie your laces. It's fine by me, but I'm here to take care of you if there is anything that goes wrong along the way.
Okay, I got that. Thank
So
you.
you're still giving them the freedom to choose. Or you invite them to participate, and all of those concepts that we spoke about over the last few weeks is still there intact. And still, as a facilitator, you're the responsible person.
Got it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Trust building. Have you seen that video of a trust fall? No? Okay,
No.
so I'm going to demonstrate what happens. So a trust fall is supposed to be like this, right? I fall back and I have people holding me behind. So they say, okay, everybody's positioned and, ready to take this guy's fall. And he goes like this. He falls on his face. Have you seen that video? Oh,
I guess
Yes,
yes.
yes, I saw that.
okay. Che, Madhuri, if you can find it, please put it up because I think it's critical. So, trust building activities, a sense of camaraderie, belonging, togetherness. They spend some time playing. They see each other be silly, hopping around, singing, jumping, playing crazy. You're increasing the risk level here. Perceived risk, not real risk. And there are sit-down trust-building activities. Your life, that some of you may have done that life story activity, right? You share your life stories, or you say, okay, what was the scariest moment in your life?
Yeah, yeah.
And people share their stories. Something like that would be a trust-building activity. It's a sit-down piece. You can also have physical trust-building activities where you do a climbing session or a rappelling session, and you get partners to belay each other. Of course, you've got all your backup systems in place and instructors and so on. But essentially, I've done a lot of corporate training in which uh, colleagues belay each other. Bala, remember that training we did with Steve Proudman? Yeah, they were belaying each other. And a wonderful way to build trust. Okay. This is the first time that you attempt reflection. We don't review or reflect or debrief energizers, de-inhibitizers, introductions, or the behavioral agreement or contract. At this point in time, now they've got enough behind them to be able to reflect upon something when you ask them questions. Okay? So, Jay, I don't think anybody got that joke. Nobody's smiling.
Yeah, I am.
There's lots of those jokes sprinkled everywhere. Yeah. Sometimes people get it. Sometimes they
It's
Do you
okay to
guys?
smile and laugh.
I'm curious. Where do you guys get these cartoons? Do you guys draw them?
Ask him, man. I have no idea. That's what he does for a living. He makes movies. So. Okay, so here we've done the reflection piece. So here's the first time you do a reflection, and all those models, theories, approaches that we've talked about come alive at this point in time. Now there's a sequence under which you would want to do it. Okay, so after your trust building exercise, the first thing the kind of activities that you might want to do to focus on communication or the way people talk to each other. Now it becomes kind of cyclic. Communication first, because every other activity that your people do in groups requires this one skill. So get them to do a lot of communication building, chat, problem solving, blah, blah, blah activities. All your decision making, problem solving, leadership, blah, blah can come later. finally enjoying the jokes.
So they're asking.
When you're working with young people and you do social responsibility projects, this is when it comes after they've got all those other skills in place and you've talked about it, then you go to this. Oh, God. I just love that. I'll wash, I'll dry, yeah, and I'll pick up the piece. But don't laugh. This is the Buddha. Have you anybody come across this book? If you do, please read it. It's called If You See the Buddha on the Road, Kill Him.
Is that the name of the book?
Uh-huh.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Brilliant book.
Bold title, that is.
Hmm. Okay. So then there is, no matter how long your program is, please remember that there must be a closure. In schools, closure is exam. What a terrible way to close a school year. Yeah. There has to be closure, that this is our time we spent together, it's coming to an end. Let's cry, let's scream, let's shout, let's celebrate, do something, damn it, but let's acknowledge the fact that it's the end of something. I always finish my activity programs with one of those wild song and dance things. You know, going on a squishy hunt. Anybody ever done that? I'm going on a squishy hunt. No? Okay. Ah, see, this is the tragedy of the screen. There's so much lag that we are not really doing it together. And if we could, no, man, it'd be brilliant. We could do all those energizers.
We could try.
I tried, no, once. Every line took like 30 seconds. You want to try?
Yeah, let's do one.
Okay. So this is a song called Mura Bajra. Everybody knows Hindi? Anybody does not know Hindi? Okay. So it goes like this. And this is an action song, right? So you go, Dilli se mora bhai layo re bajra. 1, 2, 3. Are you ready? Mic's on. Everybody, mic's on. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Dilli se mora bhai
So much of lag.
Hi, mora bajra.
Hi, hi.
Bajra. Hi, mora bajra. Teri kasam bajra. Okay, see, okay, are you convinced?
No, so if you do it and we just have to repeat it by ourselves after that, without the mics on, it still works.
Yeah, sure. Want to try? Without the mic? Okay.
But you have to say the line and then leave us time, so then we'll repeat it on our own.
Okay. And you'll do it on your count of 1, 2, 3 or my count of 1, 2, 3?
No, so you just do one line and then you pause and we'll do one line and you'll see us stop because we'll be done with the action. Then you do the next line.
दिल्ली से मोरा भाई लायो रे बाजरा. हाय कसम बाजरा, तेरी कसम बाजरा. हाय कसम बाजरा, तेरी कसम बाजरा. जब इस बाजरे को कूटन बैठी, मुसल उड़ उड़ जाए मोरा बाजरा. हाय कसम बाजरा, तेरी कसम बाजरा. हाय कसम बाजरा, तेरी कसम बाजरा. जब इस बाजरे को पछड़ बैठी, भुस्सा उड़ उड़ जाए मोरा बाजरा. हाय कसम बाजरा, तेरी कसम बाजरा. हाय कसम बाजरा, तेरी कसम बाजरा. जब इस बाजरे को गूंदन बैठी, उंगलियां चिपक चिपक जाए मोरा बाजरा. Hi, Kasam. After every line that you do, then we do it together. Hi, Kasam Bajra, Teri Kasam Bajra. Okay? Ready? Go. Hi, Kasam Bajra, Teri Kasam Bajra. Hi, Kasam Bajra, Teri Kasam. जब इस बाजरे को बेलन बैठी,
बाजरे को बेलन बैठी,
बेलन छुट छुट जाए मोरा बाजरा.
बेलन छुट छुट जाए मोरा बाजरा.
हाय कसम बाजरा, तेरी कसम बाजरा. हाय कसम बाजरा, तेरी कसम बाजरा. जब इस बाजरे को खाने बैठी,
जब इस बाजरे को खाने बैठी,
पेट में गुड़ गुड़ जाए मोरा बाजरा.
पेट में गुड़ गुड़ बाजरा.
हाय कसम बाजरा, तेरी कसम बाजरा. हाय कसम बाजरा, तेरी कसम.
Good idea, Che. Awesome.
Oh, damn it. You mean I'm going to have to do this stuff again sometime?
One
Yes.
new one every session.
Right. So do something like this.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah.
You enjoyed it?
Thoroughly.
Why didn't we think of this earlier? Oh, well, you know, the group has a lot to do with it. So you're all such wonderful people. Okay. We've got stuff to cover, and you know how things happen, right? We've got only half an hour and we've got a full model to cover. Okay, so here's different approaches to design. And some of these you would have come across. This particular one is Simon Free's 5D. So I'm just going to walk you through the text. If you have a question, you ask. Okay? Depending on the depth of the kind of work you're doing, it would either be conversation and instrument and interview and observation. So there's some corporate programs, for example, that you know, they really want to go deep into it and they invite you to come and spend time with them. So it's not just a conversation over phone saying, Acha, 40 people are going to reach the venue at 6 o'clock in the morning, be there, run a one-day team building activity and then say good night. That doesn't need more than a conversation. Okay, great. Sometimes they'll say, hey, but you know, this is a leadership group. We'd like to go a little deeper into it. So sometimes you might do a behavioral instrument like MBTI or FIRO-B or you know, one of those. If they want to go deeper and they want to see change, and this is about a change program for a leadership group, they might even get you to interview or invite you to interview some of the participants to get a sense of what the struggles in the organization are around leadership. Even deeper would be that you go and spend time with them on the floor, watching them work. It all depends on how far or how much the client or your benefactor wants. These are some questions that you would ask. Okay? I mean, imagine if a teacher did this with a classroom full of children that they're going to be working with for the rest of the year. I mean, how brilliant it would be. Just connection before content. Now, all the information that you have, now you can start thinking about what it is that you're going to do. Now, I'm not going to go into details of any of this, but know that there are things called fantasy frameworks where you do activities in which you've got quicksand and you've got crocodiles and you've got water, imaginary water, or you've got thunderstorms or you've got snakes. You know, when you give the brief of an activity with those kind of fantasy scenarios, they're called fantasy frameworks, and they're usually used in recreational programs. Reality is what's real here and now about life-based scenarios. So what are your struggles? So you know that I don't know if you've done this activity where you have a newspaper and you get people to draw their own outline, and then they share with people which parts of their what their struggles in life are, and they're sharing their personal story. That's a reality framework. A contextual framework would be where you're looking at what is working and seeing how it can be applied to another context and made to work there. So the context is an activity that you're running, and the context that you're going to apply it is on the, in the organization. Ankita lost her light. Okay. And the fourth is isomorphic frameworks, which we are finally covering for the first time in the history of Indian experiential ed in the other program called Facilitating for Transfer. Very interesting conversation. Okay. You know what PIES is, right?
Safety.
Yeah, but what does PIES stand for?
Physical, intellectual, emotional, social.
Okay. Somebody did their homework. Huh? Then you go and deliver whatever it is you're doing. And depending on the kind of program and what they want, it could be either fun, play, conceptual, functional, or dysfunctional. We'll talk about this a little later. So you've done funneling, right? Remember the funnel? What are the three questions? Deepers, please keep quiet. What are the funneling stages?
Who is it for? Is that the one you're talking about? No.
You did it in the last session. Funnel.
What? So what? Now what?
Thank you.
I am.
And detached strategy is the closure piece, evaluation, what we often call feedback, anchoring, give them a cap, a t-shirt, a keychain, whatever, something, an object that anchors that experience to the thing. Action planning, what are you going to do over the next 2 months, 3 months? Check up, let's meet every quarter. Booster, I think we should do this every year. And ongoing, I think this needs, every week, every month, whatever. So these are different detached strategies. So recreational programs, there's next to no diagnosis, only a conversation. 40 people are reaching venue, do a day of team building with them and get out. Okay, great. Whom shall I send my invoice to? That's as far as the conversation goes. What are you addressing? Feel good. Those of you who are in corporates will know that they're called feel good programs, right? So they've been through 10 months of really hard work, overtime and all that. I want them to feel good. So do a feel good program. Okay, great, no problem. Playful introductions, fantasy frames, crocodiles, thunder and lightning, the wizard, all stuff like that. Emphasis is on action and enjoying the experience, nothing more. There's no debrief. You're not processing anything. Detach is, did you enjoy it? Yeah, okay. Anchoring, give them a keychain, a pen, a t-shirt, and always a promise to say, hey, let's meet again. Aha. So it's 100% fun and play. And one instructor can handle large numbers. So don't look at the group size and instruction ratio. That's a different kind of conversation that we would have. The next type is the education, where you're affecting the way you want people to think about something. Write this down because it may come up for conversation later. So educational programs is where you're affecting the way people think about something. So you might have a conversation. You would also have an instrument, just to find out who these people are. The group size is much smaller, usually around 20. It addresses thinking and feeling. So you want them to think about something. Your introductions to activities would be precise. That means you're talking about reality frameworks. You create problems for them to solve that are in the context of the thing itself or of life. Delivery is conceptual. You're trying to bring their attention to a concept of some kind. And your reflection are always about what is there to learn from this? How does this affect the way we think about something? Debriefs are funneling and filtering. We have not done filtering, but funneling we've done. Often you will do an action plan at the end of this. So 75% doing, 25% conversation. Developmental, you're addressing change in behavior. So So you have diagnosis, conversation, instrument, and interview. Addresses behaving, thinking, and feeling. So you're addressing behaviors here. So all your conversations, your debriefs are all around behaviors. I think in this field of facilitation and processing, a lot of us go to behaviors too quickly. They're constantly trying to change somebody else's behavior before even inquiring about how they think about something. So you'll notice that feeling, thinking, then acting. So unless they're feeling good about something and you've got them to think about something, why would they even have a conversation with you about changing any kind of behavior? Remember integration? This is when you ask the so what and the now what questions. You know what front loading is, right? This is a program about dealing with conflict. You let them know everything that there is to know about why you're doing a certain thing. You also ask them, okay, we're going to do this activity. What do you think there is to learn from it? What could you do before to make the activity more successful? All these questions are asked in front of the activity or the experience. So they're already prepared for it. We don't do these programs here. Redirectional is addressing dysfunction. So I think I'm just going to move forward with that. Okay. So here's the, oh man, we've got 15 minutes and I'm going to run you through this. I went back to teach in a classroom, 7th grade geography. Have I told you the story? Yeah? Yes or no?
I
Yes,
remember
you did.
something.
Yes, you did. You said about how you let them frame the questions for the test, and then
Great. So here are the details of it. Here are the details of it. What did we do? We tore up the book and took 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, put it together and said, okay, where are they coming from? What am I going to do? What do I have to do? And where are they going to go when they go into the 8th? And if you look at the chapters here, they're all about the physical features of the planet. Okay. And what by and large we do in the classroom is transfer content from the book to the classroom. Right? And we call that covering content. So I threw away the book and I said, we've got to learn about the physical features of the planet. What would you like to learn about? And they came up with stuff. And they discovered that there were 7 continents. And they made smaller groups, made continent groups, and then went on each continent, then went into depth of each one of these. So in Africa, what's the environment like? What are the physical features? How has it changed over time? What's the vegetation? What's the wildlife? Where are the trees? Where are the deserts? Where are the grasslands? We're not doing the breakout rooms today. Okay, so the process was essentially let's look at the whole book. What does it contain? What do we have to do? And what processes are we going to use? That process of putting it together, which they do, I don't. They don't even know what's in the textbook. They decide what's going to be done. That process is a group process. And that group, every group process helps them build the classroom as a community. So I mentioned to you earlier that I think a couple of times I said, that any program I do, I spend about a third of my time building community, which would include the energizers, the de-inhibitizers, the trust building, the contract, all that entire piece, and group activities where they talk to each other, they discover each other. That's community building. I spend a third of my time doing that because then it makes everything else so much easier. And what does it really mean, community building? Exchange and influence, dialogue, purpose, adjustments, flexibility. Somebody teased somebody used bad language, what shall we do? And we go back to the drawing board and say, okay, let's have a conversation because this is our classroom. This is not just me as a teacher, but this is us together. What shall we do? Then the content is broken up into smaller pieces, which they choose. They decided to break it up as continents. Each small, so you had 7 continent groups. And within that group, then there's a different dynamic altogether. Conversations are more deep, more furious, more intimate, and they're able to problem solve and make decisions and stuff like that much easier. Of course, all that then helps individual growth. Okay, so this is the basic approach. Build community, create choices, allow decision making, work in collaborative small groups. You agree or disagree? You like, don't
Agree.
like.
Agree.
Okay, very simple, right? And this is a classic response. Most kids are like that in school. I'm trying to look at the screen and see if any of you are like that now.
Now we've learned how to manage the expressions.
I think the intent is to get to this point. That state of flow when you forget the clock. And what really helps is this principle called challenge by choice. I'm sorry, I made an assumption about, I thought we had covered challenge by choice, but here it is. What are the, it's very, very simple and yet very complex. Sorry?
We did cover some bit of it when you explained about, you gave an example about an activity that you did for a group where this person refused to, when she was not comfortable going down the cliff.
Right, and I mentioned it, but I didn't tell you this is the Gyan piece behind it.
Oh, okay.
This is the content. So what did I essentially do? You basically invite. And remember, in that conversation with Alisha, I practiced the same thing. I said, do you want to? And then we took it back to the group and said, okay, if 50 of you want to keep your shoelaces untied, I'm okay with it. Is that really what you want to do? Because this is what it means. But the choice is being made by them. They're choosing their challenge level. It's not about me saying, okay, we're going to climb up to the top of the mountain. The whole challenge begins with whether we shall tie our shoelaces or not. I mean, that's brilliant. The parent in you is probably howling right now. What do you mean, give my kid a choice? Are you crazy? Try it.
I actually have in some parts. I think it's just not completely give choices and everything, but I do it in some parts. That is very good because it teaches them to take responsibility for their decisions. Actually. And you know, that's how the initiative muscles sometimes don't go. So you let them, when you nag and push, I think the initiative muscles die. So, but then they do, I mean, if you nag, they say they did it for you. But then when you give them the choice, it's their choice and they feel, you know, they feel so proud that they made that choice. And children, I'm talking.
Yeah, well, you know, as parents, it requires a degree of courage. Yep. So this topic of challenge by choice is going to come up again and again. Okay, so just essentially three basic pieces that you're inviting them to participate. They're going to choose they're going to choose the level of challenge that they want, and it's all right to say no.
Does it use the principles of coaching methodology in some way? Like you're not giving them the answer, you're doing it for them, but you're nudging them, not subtly nudging them to actually, or helping them make a choice. By not pressurizing or pushing, but at the same time, you're with them, you stay with them, and you walk them through the process, but you help them make it.
Coaching, as I understand it, does not talk about it, but I think some of the principles are similar.
Yeah.
But very often, I find that when I see coaching being practiced, there's a lot of attachment to the outcome.
Yeah. In corporates, I think it is with a purpose, coaching with a purpose. But then otherwise, some principles in terms of methodology of how you do it in some parts of it, minus the corporate environment and why you do it.
Yeah, so this is my struggle, right? When you say coaching with a purpose, there's something manipulative about it.
Yeah, in when you are in
challenge by choice is not about that.
Okay.
Even in coaching, they always say that it's the agenda of the coachee that you're working with, and not
I know.
the organizations or the coaches.
I know, but you know what? If that really happened, I think they would, and considering the number of coaches in the world, this world would be a much nicer place, but I don't see that.
That's true.
Somehow experienced coaches, of the old school, basically, they really practice the principles of mentoring and coaching, where they,
they're very, like they're there hovering around.
They hands off, but at the same time, they just tell you that one or two that, helps you reflect, helps you this thing, and, very subtly helps you make those choices. And then they very gently nudge you in the place where you have to.
I've met people at 24 get their IAS or whatever, man. What does it say about anything? How can you be a coach at 24?
No, yeah.
How does that allow? What have you got behind you? So is coaching a thing? Is it a skill? Or is it the embodiment of something much richer? And that's a debate, but let's not do that.
It's just a thing that they learn, they get certified, and they say there's a coach. But like you said, a coach There's so much behind. So the experience, this thing, actually all that adds value to the whole process. And that's why I said the old school.
Sometimes I think it's my bald head talking, but I apologize. So here we go. So this is the process I use. Any content, any delivery of anything has two basic pieces. One is where do we want to get to, which we often call the goal or the objective. And the second is how are we going to get there, which is the process. So theoretically, if you set the get to, they set the how to. I decided the get to in my geography class, and I said, okay, this is the content. This is these, and we can study more if you want, but we need to be able to study the physical features of the planet. So then we raise around it. And these are examples of the questions. So if I decide the get to, they decide the how to, and I help them through asking these questions. How will we work? How will we manage and share information? Can we divide the task, assign roles and responsibilities? Will we measure ourselves? What about assessments? How will we manage differences? Remember, we're working as a community. It's not just geography. What else can we learn as we do this? So what is the unintended potential outcome of learning geography? And this was over a period of, a double period, 3 days a week, periodic assessments. And these are the what questions. Notice that the question is not what are we interested in. We're asking what are we interested in about geography. Boundaries are being drawn here already. What information do we need? And these are process questions. If we define what we're interested about in geography, how will we find out? It's a process question. What information do we need? We make a list. Okay, great. How will we collect it? You can go through this in your own time. Those of you who are doing classroom teaching, yeah, but the same process is applicable for any age group and almost anything. So here's the Coles learning cycle being applied. Okay, here are the so what questions. So I'm reading it, therefore I'm assuming you're also reading it as fast. Yeah? Okay. Okay? Amruta, you can take your notes later. I'm going to make it available, remember? So we talked about this earlier that throughout the learning process, posing questions, investigating, experimenting, being curious, that's the nature of the experiential methodology. So everything that we've done so far invites that process. Here are some pictures of it. Just look at the number of hands. There must be about 18 hands on it. Everybody wanted to be part of the project. So finally, now we got to do something, right? That doing was doing a map 20 feet by 15 feet of the planet. Even gender issues came up. Boys were good at some things and girls were good at other things. And just focused concentration, that whole slow thing happening so beautifully, it was just incredible. They started wanting to be there on Saturdays and Sundays, and I had to be there because now they were in mufti clothes, right? And I had to become the responsible adult, not just a teacher. Oh God. I lost a lot of corporate work during that time. And they'd come, and I think they had a plan of extending it to as many Saturdays as possible. So they'd come, horse around, paint a little, and go back. Anyway, we did finish it. Here's what it looked like in the end. These kids still stay in touch.
How many classes did you take to complete this whole activity? How many Saturdays?
No, a double period, 3 days a week. No, twice a week, a double period twice a week through the year.
Through the year?
Yeah.
A double
I
period
was a
twice.
geography teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I went and taught geography and environmental science to the fifth.
Oh, okay.
Fifth grade EVS, seventh grade geography. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, corporate work. I almost got thrown out of my home. Don't try it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So here's another way to look at it. For those of you who like reflection and who want to learn about asking questions, this whole presentation is full of questions. You can use Colin Beard's model to ask questions as well. Damn, that's a lot, no? Whew. So the previous group, I had done this exercise. I don't know if you want to do it. You can choose any subject you want. Okay. Before we close for tonight, any thoughts on what you have discovered about designing? Are you present?
Yes, I am.
Wave your hand if you're present. Dance, a hand dance. Okay. So I'm assuming you're in reflection. Please go ahead. Share with me what you think about this thing called design.
Lot of work to be done, and now I understand for each session you have to spend at least 3-4 days to do it.
Diagnosis is very important. Understanding diagnosis is, understanding
Diagnosis.
the needs. It's the most important, where they come from, what they want, and what is it actually. That helps you fit in the other parts appropriately.
Right.
How you?
Deepa, you were going to say something?
Yeah, Vishwas, I just had a question. So we spoke about the design and what goes in and how it needs to be planned and everything. So has there been any? I mean, of course there would be, but I want to know your take about it. Like, there was something that you thought I would not include in this particular session, but then over the um, the way the participants and everything came together, that particular topic, any topic for that matter, came up, and then you think, oh damn, I should have included that in this whole thing. So how do you deal with that kind of a scenario? Because that's where I struggle sometimes. That happens, and I tend to, because of the time constraints and other things, it just has it. So how do we manage with that?
Oh, I asked the group.
Okay.
Do you want to go with what excites you, or what I have planned?
Okay. So they say what you have planned, because probably they don't know the topic, or they don't, didn't want to participate at the moment when you ask the question. And then it just, that particular topic emerges during these discussions and everything, but you feel it is relevant that you do discuss about it. And there is no time, it's not. So how do we deal with that kind of a scenario?
Oh, if it becomes important and you think it's important and they think it's important, then just nothing else is important.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
I mean, on a corporate training program, we went to Rishikesh. It was a 3-day thing, and I spent, I think, 3 weeks in conversation with the team. Ouch. Everybody okay? Everybody okay?
Aditi?
I'm so sorry. I just entered my home and my kid just scared me. So
Isn't
sorry.
that brilliant? Are you scared?
No, I'm
Scare her
laughing.
back, man. Scare her back.
Sorry about this.
No, we were scared a bit for a second. Somebody, died or whatever. So I was on this corporate training program, and I landed there after a lot of dialogue, okay, including, and I used to be in the Pune area at that point in time. The program was in Rishikesh, the office was in Delhi. Four of us flew 12 backpacks of equipment to Delhi, spent a whole day working with the leadership group. We left by the night train, went to Rishikesh, went to the hotel in the morning the next day, started the program. By lunch, half the group had disappeared. Okay. So I said, hey, I'm here to do what I came to do. By 4 o'clock, there was mutiny. Half the group wanted to continue, and the other half, they said, we didn't come here for this. I said, oh, really? What did you come here for? Oh, we were told that we were going to do rafting and rock climbing and rappelling and adventure and all that. I said, okay. So we don't want to do all this stuff. We don't want to talk about stuff and all this reflection and all that. We don't want to do all that. So at 7 o'clock in the evening, I went to the leadership group and I said, hey, what's up with this? They tell me you didn't share with them that what we were here for. And they said if we had told them that this is a training program, half of them wouldn't have turned up. I said, okay, great. Is this, Deepa, is this similar to decisions having to be made and all that, right?
Yeah, this is the designing part. Yeah.
Right. So I had my design, I had my sequence, I had my flow, I had everything in place. At 7 o'clock, I meet the group and I say, okay, now we're going to make a decision as to which way we go. I'm going to raise my invoice anyway. So I think they were feeling really badly about it, and they said if they don't have a drink tonight and if they don't party and dance, we're not going to get them. Okay, done. Up to tomorrow morning, you do what you want. Tomorrow morning onwards is mine. They agreed. Woke them up at 7 o'clock, walked them to the Lakshman Jhula, sat on the rocks, and for 4 hours we talked about what we were going to do next. And I said, no breakfast, no lunch till we resolve this. In the end, challenged by choice was alive, invitational education was alive. We agreed that we would do the adventure pieces they wanted, but that there was a reason why somebody was being invited to do a training program and not a recreational program. And it went off beautifully after that. And sometimes you just have to sit under that bridge next to the water on a calm day and say, this is it. Here's our truth. We've got to confront it. And that gave, it was the first time such a thing had happened to me, and I found the courage to do it. We have to find the courage. But after that, I've been pretty brazen about it. And the issue is not that I want to to subject you to my designing, my plan, my sequence, and my activity. It's, if you don't want it, please tell me, let's create a good reason. And this is what I found, the way I frame it has never failed. The way I put it is, what can we create as our good reason to do something that will be valuable to us? And then you can do whatever you want and it will still point in the direction that you originally wanted, because we're human beings. So courage, I think, is a critical piece in this whole game.
So, Vishwas, to add on to that, so that, you kind of, had the group together, the community was built by doing that particular activity. So that you were successful, there. But it might not be aligned with the goals or the intention by which the company must have sent those folks over there for the session and everything. So you always have to go back to the the folks there, and then they say, hey, what happened?
No.
How's my group doing?
No,
Those
no.
kind of sessions are not happening.
I make it very clear in the big. So what I've discovered is this: organization wants A, group wants B.
Right.
Organization wants A, group may not be ready for B. Organization, I'll give you classic examples. Organizations want accountability, and group B is saying, how can we give you accountability if you don't give us resources? Why should we be a team when you give individual rewards?
True.
And then at that point in time, for me, the organization's need goes out of the window, and what stays alive is the reason I'm there, which is to work with that group. And if that's the most critical thing that needs to be resolved before something else needs to be done, then that's what it is.
Right.
I'm done. You can leave whenever you want. And if you're not hungry yet, cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Have a great Sunday.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vishwas.
He's there. Yeah, sorry.
Vishwas, I have a question. What is
Still?
your take
Okay.
on these psychometric assessments like MBTI and other things? So, what do you think about them?
I don't.
Okay.
You want a
Please
better
continue.
answer?
Yes, please.
You can map the contours of a human being, but you can't map the territory.
You can't map territory. Okay.
So MBTI, all instruments, all assessment tools will give you an indication. The day we start believing that that's the truth, that's who they are, we lose hope.
I mean, that's at least that's happening in many of the organizations where you have a leader or you have somebody who's the decision maker who believes that this is it and this is what is a differentiator, and then I'm going to retain people or promote people based on their MBTI scores and things like that. I mean, that is not right according to me.
Are you telling me people are promoted on MBTI?
To an extent, yes, I have seen that happen. Yes.
Then it will become a single faceted organization.
A single?
Because with one face that somebody wants.
Right.
Think about all instruments. MBTI, 5OB, whatever. We are all types.
Yes.
We're just more something
inclined towards a few of the characteristics.
And all that, and that is not permanent. It's all changeable.
It changes again over time. Like the scores that I have for now is not the same the next time I do it, or it can remain the same. But how can you base your decisions on that? Which is happening. I mean, I'll tell you one example. There was.
It's a sad story.
Yeah, there was a person, who believed that we need to hire managers only from the, B schools, elite B schools. And irrespective of what others did, the only thing the person was looking at was, does this person have the tag of a B school, certificate or something? And that's about it. No matter what you do, you're just, you're not even visible. You're just there. That's it. So I've seen. I mean, that's again another way of looking at these kind of tools or certifications or tags attached to you.
Deepa, it's a season.
Ah, right. Okay.
And the longer you live, the more seasons you'll see.
Okay.
I've found MBTI pretty cool. Yeah, like I wouldn't ever hold someone कि नहीं उसका MBTI या मतलब वो ऐसा ही है. But for myself, I found some really cool and very interesting things.
Yes, it does kind of give you a different perspective. अच्छा मैं ऐसा सोचती हूँ, you never think about it.
And it kind of put words into what I felt about myself, but I couldn't articulate it. And it
but Jay, you know what I feel sometimes.
Yeah, it gives you a language.
Yeah.
The question is, will you marry based on MBTI score?
If I had 100 options to choose from and I had only 10 that I could try out, I would definitely take MBTI, like consider it and then try out the 10.
So, but I somehow feel that it kind of puts us in these boxes that ye aisa hai, ye waisa hai. So those constraints are built up over there is what I feel.
What are you, ENFP, is it?
I don't know. I don't remember because I did have to go through that test, but I have no idea. I don't recall that.
The classic ENFP protest. I'm like boxes.
Again, you're bracketing me. This is just my thought process now.
I'm just using the same tool against you. So
I'm not for that tool for sure. I'm not for it. Maybe Che
I think
is.
there's wisdom in it. Okay, there's wisdom in it. There's certainly some truth in it. But like everything on this planet, everything is only partially
Temporary.
truth. Partially the truth.
Partially the truth. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm out of questions for now. I'll chase you later when I have some. Thank
Have
you
a
so
good day.
much. And